All right, everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. Okay, this is what we got going on here. Today's subject, I'm going to be honest, I've received probably a good 10 or 15 emails along this subject line in the past 5 or 6 years. I have done some videos on this particular subject, but I'm going to hit on it again because I had another request for this one, and this individual basically wrote me an email and said, hey, I just got divorced and I am lost in the sauce and I have no idea what the fuck I should do. Could you please help me? And of course, I'm not going to read the whole email to you, but it was along those lines. Now, I myself got my ass handed to me by the divorce industry to the point where I lost my family, children, home, car, money, and wound up living in the street out of my second car, which was an old cop car. Thank God. I owned 2 cars at the time. I was stripped of one automatically, and I literally did the perp walk. Not to the cops, but down the driveway after I got done packing up all my shit. That her entire family went through the house, the marital home, and moved all of my shit into the garage. And this is the same person who basically disappeared my dog and poisoned a large portion of my so-called friends against me and even my very own family. And let's just be honest, it was a very brutal situation, and it turns out that that brutal situation is replaying every single day across the United States.
Ain't that some bullshit?
Yeah, come here.
So, you think you disgusting pukes have what it takes to become a black belt in administrative violence? Ha ha ha! I don't think so. The funniest webinars on the internet are back, for a limited time only. Until Father's Day, you can get both the Working Man's Survival Guide and Administrative Violence Divorce and Custody Edition for $65, also known as the 65 and Out plan.
Yeah! That is if you listen to the Popster and you invest your money wisely.
Over 5 hours of hilarious and informative content that will not only make you laugh yourself sick, but you'll learn how to turn bureaucracy into your female breeding dog at the same time. Scan the QR code on the screen, or click on the link tree in the Meat Gazer box to get your digital downloads today. Be sure to keep the link on the confirmation screen, or if you lose it, send us your receipts and we'll make sure you get what's yours.
That's all you're getting out of me.
Remember, this offer is only good until Father's Day of 2024 and includes both of these mantastic webinars. So what are you waiting for, Redneck Hillary? Well, if you insist.
You've already been through the divorce. You have seen the ass beating, the wretched, unjust beatdown that you just took, and you can't believe it. All right, now, the way my mind works is everything is war. So I'm going to use a lot of warlike analogies and so forth to try to explain this to you.
Because I am hard, you will not like me.
You got your ass beat, and let's be honest, you're going to have to retreat. You're going to have to move back and reevaluate and, get rid of any dead weight and what have you. I got a list behind me. We're going to go down it right now. All right, number 1 on this list, get small. If you are one of those guys, that's got a whole bunch of shit, a lot of houses or what have you, my advice while you're going through the whole divorce or shortly thereafter, you're going to have to dump a lot of that stuff. You need to get small so you can become maneuverable. Now, I know quite a few guys who had multiple apartment buildings and what have you, and they had to sell a bunch of shit off, during their divorce and shortly thereafter. But once the divorce was complete, they learned their lesson and they moved a lot of those assets off of their books into an LLC or a corporation. There's a whole list of tricks you can do to do that. Mainly, he did not want to have those liabilities on his books, and he later on went on to juggle his books like Bozo the Clown and get out from underneath a very unreasonable child support award against him from his ex-wife. All right, so you got to get small so you're maneuverable. Number 2, you need to retool your options. For instance, I had a guy who was a plumber, and he had his own plumbing business, got divorced, and she got a huge payout for half of his business, and he had to pay a whole bunch of child support and what have you based on his business. Okay. Now, what he did from there is he got rid of the business, just said, hey, it wasn't working out, it wasn't financially viable, and went to go work for one of his buddies who paid him above the table about $15 an hour, and then, reimbursed him the rest cash under the table. Now, most people don't have this option, but if you get creative, I'm sure you can figure it out. And what happened here is, the ex-wife took him back to court quite a few times to try to get the child support increased. And he really had all the numbers, sat down in front of the judge and said, look, I lost half the business. I had to reimburse her these child support awards and all the stuff. The business went bankrupt and I have to work for someone else. It wasn't viable. And they gave him some shit, but in the grand scheme of things, he was able to, get his child support lowered based on what he was getting paid from his buddy above the table, and he was doing pretty good. Because, let's face it, a lot of these child support awards are completely unjust.
No shit.
They give them to you, and they look you in the face and say, you can get this evaluated in 2 years. And a lot of times they pick these child support and alimony numbers out of the air and they just expect you to magically produce money. That doesn't happen. I've actually had the reverse happen with people who are electricians and what have you, who, like this one guy was an electrician. He was pulling down $60 or $65, $72 an hour as a, union electrician site supervisor. Just getting absolutely smashed. Could barely afford to live just on the wages he was making. And he basically had to do the same thing in reverse. He quit his job, started his own business as an electrician where he could juggle the books like Bozo the Clown. And there you go. It's the same thing as the other story, but in reverse. Even in my case, I had to retool and refigure out my options. I had to go back into the active military because the child support award against me pretty much would take all of my basic housing allowance just to satisfy. And it left me enough left over where I could still keep my head above water and, live a fairly, decent life. Even though it was very Spartanistic and very minimal, which I still do to this day. But it had to happen. All right, number 3. You needed to assess and reevaluate your friends. Now, unfortunately, since you already are divorced, I'm pretty sure you have a good idea of who actually was your friend and who wasn't. And this includes your very own family. You're going to find out after you get divorced who your true friends are and who your true family is. Because in my instance, most of the friends I had, turned their back on me, refused to help me when I asked for help, and took my ex-wife's side, including my family. And I had to write them out of my life. Some of these friends I thought were pretty close friends of mine, and I am not in the habit of asking for help ever. And if I come to you and I ask for help, I really need it. And they literally I don't want to get involved. Okay, we're done. You're going to have to do that. It's going to hurt in the beginning, but trust me, down the road, They were just parasites anyway, and it will make you stronger. Number 4.
Anger is more useful than despair.
I want you to get pissed off about this entire thing. Because anger, rage, hatred, whatever you want to call it, are very powerful emotions. You can just not allow these emotions to touch any of the control surfaces in your head. It will take you nowhere good. But being motivated by rage, anger, and hatred is a whole other animal. Basically, you use these negative emotions in a positive way by having them throw coal into the boiler within your soul to give you the drive and the direction you need to overcome this obstacle. It's just that simple. Number 5. All right. Maneuver beats static every time. And what I'm trying to say here is if you can remain calm and maneuverable, it opens up the battlefield to you. Because more than likely, your now ex-wife, the only tool she has to use against you is family court. They're basically static. Well, static defenses can be overcome with maneuverability. And I just showed you how that worked in the beginning when retooling your options and what have you. You need to maintain your flexibility and your maneuverability after the divorce. Because a lot of times this will open options to you or give you opportunities that you could take advantage of that can radically change your life. Number 6, stay away from pity. Now, this is a tough one. And one of the main reasons is we here in the West are programmed to be victims. Even when you're a young child, especially today, they hit you and they condition you with the victim mindset. Well, this, along with pity, are the two chains that will keep you in loserville or mediocrity for the rest of your life. All right. Now, it's okay to have a pity party when it first happens. I got it. Throw back some whiskey, bang some broads.
Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah!
Do whatever you have to do, but you just can't live there permanently. It's easy to stay there and say, woe is me, it was so unfair. Oh my God. You know, I talk about my situation all the time. And when I speak about what happened to me, I'm not in the valley of pity speaking out to people. I'm on the goddamn outside edge looking in now. And I use that as a primary example of what you need to do to get out of this situation and get on with your goddamn life. And one of the main reasons, or one of the more powerful tools at your disposal, is to dispense with pity as soon as you can. Because pity's an anchor, and it will weigh you down, hold you back, and if you let it, it will drown you to death.
You don't have to sell me.
7, you got to maximize your time. Now, in my instance, with the standard, child care arrangement, which you get every other weekend, and you get like 4 hours on a Wednesday, which we all know is bullshit. I myself was not happy with that. I fought tooth and nail to get 3 weekends a month. And I made sure that I could take the children to school on Mondays. So it gave me about, Friday, Saturday. It gives me about 9 days a month. And most months there's an additional, 2 or 3 days of holidays that you may or may not get. So basically, I had about 40% of the time. I did everything in my power to make sure that when my children were with me, I maximized the time at my disposal. That is all you can do. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But what it will do is prevent you from carrying a rucksack worth of regret forward throughout the rest of your life. Because if you maximize your time, and even if it goes south, you can look back and go, I did the absolute best I could with the resources and time I was allotted. Because let's face it, shame and regret, it only gets heavier and more crushing the longer you live. And you need to nip that in the bud as fast as you can by being as efficient with your time as possible. All right, because when I talk to somebody who's going through a divorce and I give them advice, I will give them advice in the now, but when I'm looking at that individual, I'm literally looking down the gun sights of his life and going, okay, where's he going? And I'm just making a few little tweaks to make sure he winds up in a better place than where he's going right now.
Just try and stop me, bitch.
Number 8, and this will save you a lot of money, time, effort, frustration, whatever. You need to learn the system. It's just that simple. Learning the system allowed me to maneuver within the court system much more effectively, and 85% of the time after the divorce was complete, I didn't even need a lawyer. I figured it out. You can get in there, you can look at case law, you can put examples of that in your motions. And listen, most of the time, they're expecting you to just accept the fact that, you're getting fucked over in the divorce and to fuck off out into mediocrity land and just wallow in pity and do nothing. Got it. Don't be that guy. Learn the system. Use it against them. It's not that difficult. For instance, or here's an example. You go to pick your kid up. She won't let the kid out of the house. Okay, well, you've learned the system. You pull out in front of the house, off the property, and you call the police. The police will show up, look you in the face, and say, this is a civil matter. There's nothing we can do. And you look at them and say, I understand, but now there's a record of this call, and there's a record of you coming here while I'm here trying to get my children. You get a copy of said record. You go down to the courthouse. You get the motion, and you figure out how to fill it out yourself. You attach the evidence and get in front of the judge. And don't stop at magistrates, because most of the time you go to the magistrate, they're going to blow you off and tell you, go fuck off and pound sand. Immediately appeal and take it to the actual judge. That's what I did. And most of the time, if I stuck to my guns, I got better results. Because those magistrates, they even pulled it on me when I appealed it. Like, well, you're just going to have to forgive her because she's new and she doesn't know. All right. No, I'm not forgiving a sitting or acting judge in any aspect if they don't know the fucking law. Because if I show up there and I say, well, I didn't know that was against the law, there's no excuse. You're just going to have to, learn the system. All right? Don't make excuses. Don't give up. Fall into a pity party. Oh, it's too difficult. Listen, there are YouTube videos and Rumble videos of instruction on virtually everything that you can think of, to include brain surgery and giving yourself your own vasectomy. Filling out paperwork is not that difficult. Figure it out.
Tell that to all the hookers who won't kiss me on the mouth.
All right, number 9. This goes hand in hand with number 8, learning the system. Attrition is your friend. For instance, while I was fighting for more time with my children, I learned the system. I filled out my own paperwork. I filed my own filing fees. Guess what? It only cost me, I think back then it was like $55, $62 to file a motion. I think it's more now. Maybe it's like $90 to $100, depending upon where you are. And then I acted as my own attorney. Okay, my ex-wife, every time we went to court, she showed up with an actual attorney. Well, it cost me, $56 to $62 every time we went into court, and it was costing her between $500 and $800. That's an additional $500 to $800 a month out of her budget that I didn't have to expend. And guess what? Especially if you use administrative violence and you're able to get your ex tangled up in a bunch of other bureaucratic nightmares like CPS, drug investigations, tax fraud, operating a daycare that's not licensed. The list goes on and on. And while they're dealing with all of that horse shit, you're filing motions, against your ex-wife, and that's more shit that she has to worry about. Again, attrition is your friend.
Are you high?
If it's Tuesday, I'm wasted.
Number 10. And this one, I put this at the end, not because it's the least, because it is the most important. You need to play the long game, gentlemen. You are not going to get any quick victories in this ordeal. It's not going to happen. Barring Murphy or tragic accidents, this is going to be a long, drawn-out battle of attrition against your now ex-wife, who you should fully view as your enemy, and the system that supports her, which is, in my opinion, black as midnight, because they can weaponize hope and love against you. It's very crushing. It is hard, very hard, to be positive when you're caught in this doom loop. I got it. What you got to do is you're like, yeah, I am in the valley of darkness. I need to avoid the pity party. I need to play the long game. You look for that light of hope on the horizon. You fixate on it. That becomes your 12 o'clock. And that's the direction you should go. And if you can't see any light or hope at the end of the tunnel, make your own with comedy. Use that light to navigate yourself out of this pity party. Play the long game, especially if you've done nothing wrong. You've been turned into a villain by the system and your ex and all of that horse shit, because sooner or later, the truth always comes out. And the truth is much more pleasant when you're alive to see it come out than if you take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I got it. It is horrid. You just lost your kids. You've been financially raped by the system, raked through the coals. They did their best to extinguish all hope, light, and love from within you. Do not let them win. And a lot of times, even if you forget everything else, you focus on that little pinprick of light in the distance. You walk towards there. You play the long game. And at some point, you're going to fucking win.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
All right, gentlemen. I hope that this talk helped you out a little bit. Again, I'm in the business to keep the guns out of your fucking mouths and keep you guys north of the grass and not going to the 18th hole, which is 6 feet deep, early.